Most people think healing is about fixing something that's broken. But what if healing is actually about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be? Today's conversation might challenge what you think you know about psychology, spirituality, and personal transformation. Because we're talking about what happens when science and soul stop competing and start working together. I'm joined by Dr. Wendy Perrell, a psychologist and spiritual empowerment coach whose work helps people reconnect to their inner authority and navigate the deeper layers of emotional and spiritual evolution. And in this episode, we're exploring what it really means to awaken without losing yourself in the process. Dr. Wendy, welcome to Rise Plus Rebel.
I'm so excited to have you here, Dr. Wendy. I'm actually, surprise, surprise, reading your book, Coming Out of the Spiritual Closet. So this is like perfect timing. Can you actually tell me? I know I've been reading through the book that you've served in the military, you built a career, and then you stepped into shamanic and soul leadership work. And that's not a common trajectory. Can you share how your early life and career shaped your understanding of personal power?
Yes, I think by stepping into the military, it allowed me to see what leadership looks like from so many different perspectives. Traveling in the military, going to the different countries, and really that the time I came in the military, there still wasn't a lot of females in the military. So I got to actually witness what it looked like to be a female in the military and whether they respected that or not. And of course, there's always the rules that you're supposed to, but to actually feel it. And actually, I started coaching in 1993 and got into leadership development in the military around 1997, 98, and did that for the last 10 years of my military career. So I was coaching and doing leadership development, which when you join the military, you never have an idea that's even something that you would do.
Yeah, wow,
Yeah, I know,
that's
right?
amazing.
Who would ever thought? And then when I got out, I was doing leadership development, the first leadership development program for Alaska Natives and American Indians. And that is when I went to get my doctorate in education and leadership because it all of a sudden dawned on me in the military, I was training people how to be leaders the military way, but I could not take that and transfer it to the Alaska Native American Indian way because I didn't want them to lose their natural leadership abilities. And I just knew, like deep in my heart, that they needed to stay who they were and just know how to work within the Western non native system to be successful. And like going through that just created goosebumps the whole entire time I was in there working with people because it was a whole new, brilliant community, respectful, compassionate leadership style I have never experienced in the military or any place else. And nothing that I was ever trained to teach people. It was discipline. You do this, do my way or the highway. And it was so incredibly heart centered. And I didn't want them to lose that.
Yeah, speaking of that, you said your personal power determines your destiny. Can you unpack what that actually means in real life? Not like in spiritual abstract, but real, truly lived experience?
True. It's really, really is true. So if you don't feel like you're worthy, if you don't feel like you're good enough, if you don't feel valuable in life, then you basically give your power away to pleasing, to controlling, to making everybody around you happy. But also, when you realize, wait, I need to make me a priority, and you take your power back, shabam, shazam, you can do anything because now you're calling that who you naturally are in that power. And actually, my guides, when I was going through this process, actually gave this to me. And I didn't quite understand what it meant until every time I worked with a person and saw how they were giving their power away. And when they were taking their power back, I was like, holy crap, we're on to something.
Well, I mean, I get exactly what you're talking about because that was my firsthand experience with you too. And the last time I also saw you, you just kind of like charged me up, and you're like, "Hello, step into your power." I was like, that's right. I completely forgot." And that is that little oomph. I don't know how to describe it, but I felt it when you gave it to me. I was like, "Yeah, I just gotta come back to myself." That's we all have it. So thank you so much for that.
With it. Just think we're born with it and nobody ever tells us until we're so lost. And then somebody tells you, like, whoa, I get to have this.
Yeah, so speaking of that, you get to have this, which is really yours. You know, we talk about empowerment, and oftentimes I think when people hear that, they might think it's light and it's easy, but real power really shows up through resistance and shadow, and that's what I've been talking about in my previous episodes as well. How do you define personal empowerment when someone is in their darkest chapters?
Well, actually, that is a first step of stepping into your power because you have to recognize. So when you go through this thing, I call it the dark night of the soul because the soul is like eclipsed today, right? The sun is eclipsed, but there's a ring of fire around it. So your light never goes away. But that shadow side that covers your energy is once again all the things that you've given your power away to. And so when we're going through this journey of waking up, your soul is stepping into its power, that spiritual muscle and saying, look at the things you've been giving your power away to, and how does that feel? And the reason that we feel really crappy is because inside of us, we're like, oh my God, I did that. I disrespected my light. I disrespected my power. So then we have to I don't want to say process, but I know that's the word everybody uses, but we have to really reflect and we have to reflect, do we blame everybody in society that we gave our power to? Or do we take ownership? And when you come through the tunnel, if you took ownership, oh my God, I did give my power away, then it's easier to step into it. But if you spend the whole time blaming, it was my mom, it was my dad, my brother, my sister, society, school, religion, whatever, you never really get your power back because you're in the blame mode.
Oof, that resonates so much, Dr. Wendy. It's so true. I do also even notice within my own self when I shift from blame to taking accountability for my own actions, I function from a different version of myself too, because then I'm able to say, oh, hey, this is where I'm lacking or not feeling so pleasant. How can I shift that and actually make myself happy? And it's all that on that choices that we make in every moment.
I like that you say choices because I decided, you're for the new year, people create goals or intentions or whatever, right? And this morning when I was driving to the gym, I said, in the past, I've learned through suffering, I've learned through pain. I'm like, starting in 2026, starting on this new moon, I'm going to choose to learn through joy, abundance, love, prosperity. Well, where in my brain did I think I had to suffer? You have to work hard to be successful. You have to do this, no pain, no gain. I was like, screw that stuff. I'm done with that. My true power is I can learn through joy. I can learn through prosperity, right?
Yeah, so absolutely. And actually, let's talk about this. This is what I wanted to ask you next is you work with people who that you heal emotional, mental, even physical blocks, and often through high vibrational channels and soul messages. So how does someone begin to listen to their own inner guidance when everything around them tells them to look outward, blame?
Yeah. Well, for the most part, a person generally needs to start first thing in the morning when there's silence. And if you can take time to feel your body and say, What am I feeling in my body?" Not thinking about what's on my phone for me to do today. But if you give your attention immediately to your body is a receiver and a sender. So the soul sends messages through your body to say what's out of balance, what needs to be worked on for you. But then the second thing is, I have to recognize what I'm constantly giving my fear power to. If I'm sitting in fear, if I'm sitting in stress and anxiety, I cannot hear the soul messages because my brain turns on first before I give my attention to my soul. So then the brain creates static. It's like back in the day when people would have to wiggle their ears on their TV to pick up a signal. So when you first wake up, the signal is clear. You start making the signal not so clear by picking up your phone, thinking about the day, all the things you got to get done. And really, the first 3 to 7 minutes of your day, that's when I say, I choose to listen to my soul today. What you got for me? And at first, you may not hear anything, but then you hear something and you think, oh, I'm just making that up. Because sometimes I've gotten, today's a good day for you to rest. And I think, but I got all these things I want to get done. And I hear again, today's a good day for you to rest. So, how do you know to trust that? I finally trusted it. And I found that day of rest allowed me the next day to really make better progress towards the things I was going to do because certain things still were not in alignment for those things to get done. So, taking that pause, I had greater wind beneath my wings.
I love what you said because that's something I've been recently implementing myself this year is doing my best to keep the phone, keep the technology away from myself right before I wake up because I've noticed this pattern that I created and this bad habit I created when I was traveling in Asia. I would just pick up my phone immediately as soon as I wake up. I mean, that's probably the worst, unhealthiest thing one can do for themselves.
My guides have actually told me to turn the phone off. So I have an iPad near my bed and my phone near my bed. And they actually, I mean, if someone dies in the middle of the night, what are you going to do? I mean, they're already dead, right? So what's the emergency? So they actually told me turn the phone off because the frequencies that are still pulsating through the phone, any electronic system is pulsating through your human body. So therefore, some people wake up with the energy of stress because they got news feeds on or whatever feeds on, and they don't realize why they feel so anxious waking up. So I have noticed I have better sleep. I'm more clear in the morning. I'm more energized. And so since about November last year, I turned everything off. Everything's off. I don't even sleep with, every now and then I'll sleep with the watch on just to see how am I doing with my sleep, but I take everything off.
Okay. Do you have like a healthy distance as well? Like what I did earlier this year, and surprisingly, my phone still ended up in my room. But what I did earlier is keep my phone in my home office. So I still had to
Hmm.
walk, make multiple steps before I was exposed to technology. But again, I'm working through it because it's still making it to my room, which is too close, I think.
Well, you know what? You can just leave it in the kitchen. You can just, because in all actuality, I mean, if you really do a good, healthy process of waking up, your body needs the first thing it needs for you to breathe. It needs you to listen to it. It needs you to be in sunshine. It needs a glass of water. All these steps really need to happen for your body before you pick up the phone. And if the phone's off, just think there's no pulsating happening anywhere. So you're waking up to a clean energy in your home, other than your microwave and refrigerator and all that stuff. But the phone is a little bit different because it's constantly bringing things in because that's how it's designed.
Oh, wow. I hope that resonated with our listeners because it definitely did with me. And I'll have to start thinking strategically on how to best keep the technology away for that exact purpose of just really grounding for as long as you can, right when you wake
Hmm.
up. Um,
Do you
okay.
know why that's important to ground?
Yes, please tell me because I know it is. I can feel
But you
it.
don't really get it. So, the importance of grounding is when you're sleeping, your soul picks up and receives the messages it's going to need for your path moving forward. And sometimes we have this memory or we have a dream or something. So, what happens when you wake up and you take some time to ground, you're integrating it into the now, into the earth. So, this way, your cellular energy knows that information is there and when to pull on it when it's necessary. So, if you ever met somebody, and I'm going to use the word, they seem flighty, it's that they're probably really good picking up the energies, but they don't have the follow through to get things done because they're not grounded. So that has to come down into your solar plexus because that's your power to get out there and get stuff done. So even after meditation, that's why they ask you to come back into your body, to ground, because you see all these really cool things that you can make happen. And all of a sudden it's like a dream. You wake up and like, what was that again? By grounding it, it integrates it into the now.
I love that. And I actually have a follow-up question on this topic. How do you, so after you wake up, you've grounded yourself, you went through the whole day, how do you come back to yourself before you go to sleep? Like there has to be a process, right?
So some people use prayer or gratitude or all the above. So basically, I like to say, so if I woke up today and the only things in my life are only the things I was grateful for yesterday, what would I have? Or if I woke up today and only had the things I was complained about yesterday, what would I have? So I use instead of sitting on looking at things before I fall asleep, it's the perfect time to say, you know what, you kind of processing your day and you're creating the attention. I tell myself I'm going to sleep so amazing. I'm just going to allow myself to go. I tell myself that soul, take me to wherever I need to go to get the messages I need. I spend some time in gratitude and I send some time in prayer. And remember, prayer is putting a request out there. So in the Bible and most of the holy book says, ask and you shall receive, knock and the door will open. I use that time to ask, because if I'm asking, then I have the higher potential to receive messages through my dreams or through whatever of how to move forward to get where I'm trying to go that I asked for. So that prayer, the gratitude just puts you in a happier place. And then talking to yourself, I let myself go. I give my body permission to rest. I give my mind permission to let go and relax. I give permission for my soul to take over my nighttime rituals.
I love that. How does your dream state look like?
It depends. It really, really depends on because sometimes I can be so gone. Like my husband's like, you didn't hear whatever happened. I'm like, no, because I choose that. I choose to be gone. But what if I meditate or spend time in silence? So I don't have to be like to meditate. I can just be walking the dog and all of a sudden all the stuff starts coming through. So that means it's sitting here and moving through. So it could be a really powerful dream, or it's like all of a sudden, like, I know exactly how I'm going to tackle this today.
Nice,
And
nice.
that's not Wendy doing it. That's going to come from a higher perspective because some of the things that come through, I don't think Wendy would have ever thought of it.
Yeah, so speaking of that, actually, because it's almost like you're defining you have the higher self and then you have the ego, right?
Well, right. So there's nothing wrong with the ego because the ego's got to know how to turn the car on, how to get onto a Zoom podcast call. There's nothing wrong with the ego. But for the soul part, the higher self, if we want to call it that, it's been given many names. There's nothing wrong with that. But the soul self is what we're here to experience. So the best way that they could show me, like, okay, you can see light right here, right? You can see light from the sun. So that energy of all that is, source, the creator, consciousness, God, whatever people want to call it, is this big, huge consciousness of different light. And a speck of light comes down, and that is your soul's energy. You're still connected to that light, but that energy comes into a physical form that says, I'm going down there to have experiences for my soul's growth. Now, our mind says it's right, wrong, good, bad, all the judgment, things that go with it. But a soul can come down and say, I want to experience what it's like to be poor this lifetime. I don't have to spend the whole lifetime, but I want to know what it's like to be poor. The soul can say, I want to choose what it's like to be, we'll use our definition of our earthly time because I've never been that. I want to know what a person would feel like, or skinny, or rich, or everything. So the soul came down here to have many, 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 many bazillion experiences. And the ego says, what the hell? I want to be rich. I want to have this. I want to have that. Everything should be easy. Why are they so mean to me? Why is this and why is that? So the ego's not right or wrong. The ego is a perspective. And the cool thing, let me just share this. When the ego sees one thing and the soul sees another, that's how you feel anxiety because you're not aligned. The soul says, I can see it like this. This is what we're moving. And the brain can't process it. And they can only see the fear or the stress of it. So you feel that anxiety, you feel wobbly, and you don't know why because you're listening more here. And this is saying, we got this.
That that was a really nice description of anxiety and why we have it. So what would you recommend for somebody who is actually battling through that? Because I don't think people disagree in that we have higher self, we have the soul as well as the ego. But at least from my network, who I have met who have high anxiety, they really lean into that identity. They lean into anxiety and they're like, no, no, you don't understand. I've always had this, or just anxious person. That's just my way of processing. That's what I hear.
So that means they're saying, I choose this. I choose this feelings. If they're saying this is just the way I am, they're saying, I choose this. What would happen if you say, you know what? I choose to listen to my soul. When I feel the wobble, I'm going to take a breath. Maybe I have to take 5 or 6 breaths. Maybe I need to put my hand on my heart and say, you know what? I'm still here. Okay. I can feel my heart beating. All right. My heart. So we don't want to use the word soul because people are uncomfortable with that. My heart.
Mm.
What do I need to know right now? And you might hear breathe or my heart, is this a good decision for me? Well, the brain really wants something to turn out a certain way, and the heart might say, it's not right now. You can have this, but it's not divine timing. It's going to come with a mess, you know? So your brain can say, I'm going to try to make this work, and you're going to feel so much anxiety because your soul says, it's not divine timing. It's not going to work. You're going to have issues with it, but the soul will let you go through it because the soul came here to have experiences and say, okay, if put this way, the soul came here to have free will. So you as a human are here to have free will. If you say, no, I want to date this guy who I know that's bad for me, which I've had people do that. They're like, I know it's bad for me, but I want the experience of hanging out with him. And then afterwards, when they come to me crumbling, they're like, because they didn't realize how hard it would be on the physical, emotional body. So always talking to you, it's this that we're choosing the ego, and then we feed the ego with fear, with drama, and we look for everything that's going to prove my ego right on my phone. The
So
stock market's going to crash. Oh my God, let me see what's going on with the stock market. See, I told you this wasn't going to work. So we're creating our reality.
yeah, wow. So let me ask you this, because we're leaning towards ego, and I understand how ego functions. I think you explained it really, really well. What would it feel like in the body if the soul, the individual person, myself included, if we really lean into our higher self, like our intuition is guiding us and saying, this is what you need to tap into, this is what you need to double down on, or just 10x on, because that's what lights you up. What does that feel like, and what does the outcome look like for someone like that if they were to tap
So
into?
the thing is, how is your body telling you that? When you're doing something that you are enjoyed with, something that you love, something that excites you, something you're passionate about, your energy field goes. When something you have to force it, you're trying really hard, you're trying to make it work, and you're trying to create a plan, your energy goes shh, and it feels constricted, it feels really tight. So what I've learned to, like I said, listening to the body, you know what? I want to go to the gym today. And all of a sudden I'll hear, "Shh, yeah, but today's a gym day." And I said, screw it. I'm going to go to the gym anyways. I never made it to the gym because there was accidents all over because there was ice on the road. And I thought, I know how to get around all this. And I just said, screw it. And I turned around and came home because my brain says, but this is a gym day, right? But my energy said, shh, when I said I want to go to the gym. Now, I said, I want to go to the gym. And it went, shh, because I like the gym. But then when I said I'm going to go to the gym today, it went, shh. So your energy, you'll feel in the flow, you'll feel excited, you'll feel expansive, you like feel like, oh my God, this is so cool. When you're traveling with the head, forcing, pleasing, controlling, high expectations of what it should and should not look like, it's like this, and this is when your anxiety comes. This is when the fear comes. What if it doesn't work? And this is when your anxiety comes because the expectation is not going to be, because when something's supposed to be for you, it's better than your brain could ever imagine. It's so better than, because your brain has no template. You might say it's only this, and there's like, can you let the vision go? Because we want to give you more. Yeah, but it needs to look like this, but it can be more.
I love that very much. I think that was a really great physical description of what it feels like to really tap into your intuition and let it guide you. Many people feel called to something bigger, but they fear that guidance, and they really tap into, I think, into the fear that keeps them small. How do you guide people through the fear so that they don't postpone their power, they don't postpone their life purpose, the soul's purpose?
Our true life purpose is to shine, to do our joy, to do whatever brings us excitement and what we're passionate about. It is not about, now, if you're very passionate about creating this huge infrastructure or something, that's for that person. But our brain says, we are supposed to make something, we're supposed to do something, we're supposed to do this. Your soul just came here to light up. And that's why it's important to ground, because when you're grounded, it's like the light coming down through the trees and you're bringing it to the earth. Your soul says, I just want to smile. And if your soul says, I want to make people happy, then you're joyful around everybody. It's the ego that makes it bigger than what it is. So if a person has a good voice like yours and you'd love to speak and you have power through your words and you're an influencer, the ego says, I'm an influencer because I have to have a bazillion followers, and they create fear things and other things because they want to click, 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 click. But the soul says, I have things to say, and the right people are going to find it who needs to find it. I don't have to do anything but speak my truth. And it just comes through so naturally without any fight. And all of a sudden the next opportunity shows up and somebody says, you're so lucky. I'm like, no, I just stayed aligned. I just stayed aligned. And so you don't have to be afraid, because the other fear that comes, What if I'm successful and people will judge my success? Well, hell, they judge your failures. They're going to judge your success. They judge your lipstick. They judge your hair. They judge your car. Screw it. People just have nothing better to do but to judge. But that's how you know they're in their ego. I just say, find me. If you like my light and my light is attracted to you and we are in coherence with each other, let's do this.
I love that. I love that so much. I remember that I was on the right path when I saw you a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling you like, I'm scared. I just started this new thing, this podcast, and you're like, but does it make you happy? Does it light you up? And I was like, yeah, it actually does. And you're like, well, there you go. You're on it. You're on the right path. So I was like, okay, thank you. I just needed that little validation. I think people who are on this
Need
journey,
validation to listen to their soul. Isn't that funny?
it is.
We don't need validation to listen to our ego, but somewhere along the line, our soul has lost so much power that we've given away everything to people's opinions for our ego. Then our soul says something like, why would you even ask anybody? This is what your soul wants. It's you. But we think, why would we ask for the opinions of others? So I'm going to say, since we're in this new moon energy, we should do this anytime. If you have a really cool idea, you keep it close to your chest because you don't want people sprinkling your idea with their fears, their experiences, their energy, because they don't know what you're here to do. I'm going to tell you, when I went to become a shaman or shaman training, I didn't go around telling everybody. I didn't tell anybody till I was done. Because why? It's none of their business. I was doing it for me because something inside of me says, let's do this. You know what I mean? But if I would have done it, people will say, oh my God, that's evil. Or, I
Yeah.
just, ugh, you know. And then when I came to Charleston and I was practicing shamanism, I remember people saying, don't tell anybody what you do. They're going to burn a cross in your yard. I'm like, what? Why? You know? But the thing is, when I was doing that, a lady actually wrote an article about me in Natural Awakenings, and she got hate mail for doing that. I just got one phone call. Some lady called me and said something to me, what, kind of went one ear out the other. It wasn't anything negative. But the lady that wrote the article to highlight me in Natural Awakenings, she got hate mail, like threats, because
Wow.
people said, how dare you do this? This isn't okay. We're in the South, and, whatever. But the thing is, you do it. I don't even ask for forgiveness later. I just know it's what I'm supposed to do. And I just say, screw it. When you were 16, 17, 18, you were leaving home, you just went and did whatever you wanted to do, right? Nobody was going to stop you. Why do you get scared when you turn 30?
Yeah, I love that. Dr. Wendy, thank you. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So I'm processing things. So you've glitched me, Dr. Wendy. I hope my listeners are also glitched a little bit too. That's good.
Well, you know what? I'm going to share something. People have asked me, how did I know to study shamanism?
Yeah.
So, a lot of us, we have been shamans in other lifetimes if you believe in reincarnation. So, you probably have done things and you don't even know why you're doing them. But randomly, I don't even remember how it even happened, probably through Facebook. Somebody was talking about shamanism and it said a class was getting ready to start. And something inside of me says, oh, I'm interested in this. And I applied. But it must have been at the final hour when I applied. And I think it was a Monday morning, yeah, it was a Monday morning. I received an email, and the email said, and this was from Robin Rice, and at that time she was teaching it. She said, the class is full. However, I'm receiving guidance to let you in, and I've never, ever, ever in my however many years that she's been teaching shamanism, I am to let you in our class. And when I was reading the email, I was at work. And how do you know this is the right thing? I started bawling. Like, I cried so hard, I had snot coming out of my nose. I didn't have anybody in my office. I didn't share an office. But I was like trembling, but it was tears of joy. Like, I knew I was supposed to do this, but I really didn't have any concept what shamanism was or even what I was getting myself into. I just trusted my intuition to apply. But that soul shaking feeling, what is that? That wasn't my ego. I mean, who cares if I got in class? It was the last minute. I wonder if I'll get in. You see the difference?
Yeah. I want to ask you, how did shamanism find you, or how did you find shamanism and you're like, this is what I need to pursue?
Like I said, it was just a random thing. I didn't never really thought about it. I saw the thing on Facebook, something inside of me says you should apply. Not should, it said apply. And I applied. And I thought if I don't get it, I don't get it, whatever. It's just, I'm ready to learn something new. But when I read her email, and it wasn't that long, it was just a whole body visceral reaction that I said, okay, I need to embrace this. And that being said, I say the soul's constantly talking to you because the soul designed your path. Okay. The
Yeah.
ego might take you through the ups and downs and around the hills and the roller coaster ride. But I can remember when I was in sixth grade watching TV, a commercial came on and it was an Air Force commercial. Didn't know anything about the Air Force. And I saw the airplanes and anything. It said aim high. And I heard, it was more so here, and I hear, you're going to join the Air Force. And then after that, when everybody asked me, what are you going to do when you grow up? I said, I'm going to join the Air Force. I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. I didn't even know what it was. And I just, ever since sixth grade, and as soon as I was old enough to go fill out the paperwork, I went and filled out the paperwork. But I really didn't know what that was.
I love that. And actually, I think you may have even mentioned that in the book, but I just passed the chapter or the section where you were saying how you've been really listening into the messages from the higher self, the source, the universe. And you just actually reminded me of that experience where you got by without paying the ticket. That was my favorite. I was like, that's right. Go, Dr.
You
Wendy.
can't, you can't make that stuff up. You really can't. I'm still covered in goosebumps of that because um, every time I'm driving down that road in Florida, that always crosses my mind. But I now know also to slow down. But you can't make that stuff up. And so people, when people say you can create your reality, you can create your reality. And the energy of 2026, if there's one thing your listeners should know, if you I'm teaching a class right now, and it's called The Soul Rising. And if you start your day with, I choose this, I choose to be in the higher vibration, I choose. So you're telling yourselves, I choose this, right? I choose this. If you pick up your phone first thing in the morning, you're choosing that energy. So I'll say, I choose to be at the highest vibrations, thoughts, beliefs, actions, words, how I take care of my body. I choose the higher vibrations already here on the earth. I have a choice to do the lower vibrations. Been there, done that. Don't even want the t-shirt. I choose the highest vibrations. And then I ask that, let my choices, let my words, let everything I do line up with that energy. Because you're now talking to yourselves. You can talk to yourselves about stress or worry about your day. Or if I say, hey, I choose the highest vibrations, I choose to be in the flow, show me what that looks like. Show me how I choose prosperity today. I choose this, I choose that. So I'm wiring myself with my choices of the day, not the program choices I had yesterday. And then you just hear, you just know. And then everything starts to shift. So then you are creating your new reality.
I've been on this journey of creating my own reality for the last 6, 7 years now. And there was a moment in my life, I will just say easily 10 years ago, where if somebody was to tell me, like, hey, by the way, in 5 years, you're going to be an actress, I would have never believed anybody, or a model, especially. I'd be like, you're lying. Because 10 years ago, I was overweight. I was in a very unhealthy relationship, married my high school sweetheart. And then just like, I saw after my dark night of the soul experience, I experienced and witnessed that everything really truly was a choice that we make in every moment of the days.
Every breath with every thought. Because our mind, how it was programmed when we came to earth, is when we say I am, that is connecting to the great I am that I am, the unseen energy of source. When you say I am, you're basically sending deep, 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 deep Morse code saying this is what I want in my life. Just that easy. If I say I'm prosperous, I'm prosperous. It may not happen immediately at this moment because I got this old wiring I still got to get out of. But when I
Yeah.
say I am prosperous, I am prosperous. And if I could put a vision to what prosperous looks like, I just say I'm a money magnet. I find money everywhere, which is true. I do find money everywhere. I'm constantly picking up money off the road in the strangest places, but I have told myself that. So basically, I decided if my mind is connected to the I am, and I'm using my ego to create my reality, well, then I choose my reality differently than what I've done in the past because now I'm more awake about I have a choice. I have a choice to listen to the fear and
Yeah.
all the troubles of the world and the chaos. And that's always been there. People don't realize it has always been there. The difference is we have so many forms of social media feeding it to us. What do you think's happening to our physical body? Is putting us out of whack, putting our nervous system out of whack, is creating static around our soul that we can't hear it. So then you start getting ringing in your ears, and the ringing in the ears is trying to help you to reprogram and let some of that old stuff go, right?
I love that. I've actually been getting a lot of ringing in my ears, and I'm actually getting some right now, which in the past I used to think my hearing disability or just it just doesn't function well. It's been like that for a couple of years, and it will come up whenever it feels like it, and I would just always feel it as a disadvantage or as a no. Okay.
They're talking to you. You know, and sometimes when some part of you doesn't work as well, it allows another part of you to open up. So if the hearing starts to slow down, that means the inner hearing awakens, or the third eye, the inner sight awakens, because maybe you're giving too much attention to listening to the outside world that your ears say, that's it. Your soul says, we're shutting that down because we need to get you back in alignment.
I love that. So sassy, my soul is.
Your sassy is so, your soul is so powerful if you even just had any glimpse of what you could create. And when people do YouTubes and stuff about that or shows about that, people dismiss it. They dismiss it, except for the few that go with it. And then they have these beautiful lives. But everybody says it's just luck.
Yeah. So actually, speaking of this luck, for somebody who's listening who is skeptical or they're brand new to spiritual language, how would you explain the practical benefit of accessing that inner wisdom within?
It really can affect the most wondrous things in your life. You really have to slow down. I am used to be type A running around. I am ADD, ADHD. I go, go, go. But I know to burn my energy out so I can sit still and listen. And when I say sit still and listen, it doesn't always have to be, I just got to go, mm. You can go for a walk without the headphones, without the radio, without the phone, and just simply say, my soul, what do you got for me today? And even though you don't think you're paying attention, but look at the trees and look at everything right here in front of you, and don't think about the outside world of what's happening, what's wrong, what's right. Things just come up. And then I tell people to write it down because I call that a trust journal. Well, I got this sensation today, and I write it down, and this is the action I took. And then you start saying, oh my God, that sensation was telling me, and I did do the right thing. You might even get a flash. Some people get flashes before their eyes. Like, if you're going to take that road, it's going to be challenging. Are you sure you want to do it? You have a choice, but are you sure you want to do it? You know, you might get little flashes of that, or you get flashes of how to make things better, of doing things that you never thought you would ever do, that you wouldn't have the book smarts to do, but you would just know to do it. And that is why our younger generation is kind of amazing. We were trained so much with book smarts, and you have to do things a certain way. But it's
Yeah.
the younger generation that created Facebook. It was the younger generation that created Instagram. It was the younger generation that created YouTube. It was a youngster, like there's a lady, I can't remember where she's from. She just created this earring that you wear in your ear, has a camera on it, that if somebody comes up to you and they try to assault you or hurt you or whatever, that you just turn and it'll capture that, right? It's the young people that are creating these really cool things. And people ask, where are they getting it from? It's not from a book. They're too young. They didn't go to college yet. This
Hmm.
stuff is constantly being channeled to us. The difference with the older generation is we think we're right. We think we have all the answers. We think because we went to school or got a degree that makes us better. But the younger generation says, I don't need your programming from school. I already know how to do this. We just got to let them do it. We got to give them the resource to let it happen.
Wow.
Isn't it cool?
It
And
is.
Steve Jobs, just so you know, if you research Steve Jobs, he only worked maybe 4 hours a day, maybe six. He spent the rest of the time in meditation and listening. His information was channeled to him.
I love that. And yeah, I actually read, I'm a big Steve Jobs fan. And I did read that he was very, very spiritual. He prioritized that a lot in his life. And he was also tapping into his true authentic self because he expressed himself and the ego, the people were like, oh, he's so rude, he's so disrespectful. That's what they're known for, especially his colleagues. But that's what's admirable about him is that he spoke his truth, despite the fact of how ego felt.
He was to the point. He spoke to the point. So the thing is, when we are blunt of how we say things and we don't colorful it and put all these soft, squishy words around it to make it, when he said something, he was clear about what he was saying. But you know, if you talk to some people and they have certain language that are, it's like, so is that a yes or is that a no?
Yeah.
You know how you talk, like I realized when I lived in Charleston, they're like, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it, which finally I learned, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it means I'm not going to make it. Does that make sense? It doesn't
Okay.
mean I'm going to follow up with you to let you know I'm going to make it. When someone says, Wendy, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it Sunday, which meant I finally, after a while, I realized that meant in a kind way, I'm not making it Sunday. So the thing is with Steve Jobs, he just came around and says, you know what? I got other things going on. I'm not making it. What you need to understand, everybody needs to understand how somebody responds to you emotionally, mentally, that is their business. If you can be authentic, if you can say what you need to say, their opinion doesn't matter because they're responding to you based on how they see life through their filter. That's it. So, how we resonate with somebody means I want to hear what you have to say. If their filter is creating all these judgments with everything that's running through you, let them be there because they're not your audience.
Okay. So how would you say, how do we hold both power and vulnerability at the same time? Can we? Can we be strong and soft? Or do we have to
We
choose?
are. No, you're stronger in your heart than in your head. You don't have to choose. So, if I'm speaking to you from the heart, so as a good host, you send out a list of questions. I glanced at them because I thought, no, I'm answering these in the moment because if I actually read these and get into my head's going to want to create that response. And what is the right thing I need to say? But when you're in your heart just knows this is just what it is. It's just what it is. I'm not trying to with my words. I'm not trying to manipulate you with my words. I'm just saying what's here. Now, we call it vulnerability, but I'm just going to say, why don't we just take the word vulnerability out and how about we just say we're being authentic?
Mm.
You know, vulnerability means here, let me show you my tattoo that's down here. No, you know, the thing is, I'm being authentic. I want you to know about me. And the vulnerability part is, I don't care what anybody thinks. I spent X amount of years doing that. And how did that serve me? I gave my power away to other people's opinions, what I should and should not do. And I lost me. So
Mm.
now I hold my power by being me because I know what I feel inside. I know what makes me happy. I know how to light my place up. I know what I love. I know the more I do of what I love, the more excited I am about life. And then I also know that I vibrate that.
Yeah.
And people come up to me like, how do you do that? And they're like, I want to learn from you because it's not the words coming out of my mouth, it's the vibrations coming out of my eyes, my throat, my body, right?
Which basically, from what I'm hearing, then you're just really tapping into your power and your authenticity, combining them too.
Because it's who we already are. The thing is, I'm just ripping off all the masks and all the labels that society has put on me that says you must hide behind this. Think of the solar eclipse. No, I'm just going to pull all this stuff away. And at the end of the day, when you pull all this stuff away, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. People get jealous with that. Why?
Yeah.
It's because they don't know how. They shouldn't get jealous. They should just say, I want to know how to do that because I miss that side of me.
Powerful. Dr. Wendy, I have a final question for you. If there
Okay.
were one truth you could leave every listener with, something that would shift how they move through themselves and the world, what would it be?
You are stronger in your heart than in your mind. 100%. I know I say your personal power determines your destiny, but that power comes from your heart. So those two kind of are linked together, but you are stronger in your heart than in your mind. Your mind's always going to weigh the pros and cons, the good, the bad, the should not. But the heart just knows because it goes shh. If it's not good, it goes shh. And the brain tries to talk you into it.
Whew.
And I didn't make that one up. Archangel Raphael gave that to me, and I remember writing it down. I was like, whoa, whoa. That was a whoa. Because at first I didn't quite get it until I practiced it. And the more things I did from here, the greater things turned out. Whoa.
Yeah. Wow. I've been really noticing and coming back to my own body to witness an experience where I'm closing off and when I'm opening. And when I witness myself, that's thanks to meditation, by the way, witness my ego closing off. I'm like, okay, what can we do to just open it up a little bit so we're nicer instead of telling them to buzz off for the rest of their life, go kick rocks? Because that's easy. You can do that. But coming from a place of love and from the heart, it's a little bit challenging, at least for me, and I do my best to lean into that.
What do you do when you're seeing somebody's ego? It's a gift. Instead of telling them to buzz off, you're like, whoa, I was like that once. And then you ask yourself, what's the best way to deal with this? Your heart's going to tell you. I don't have to convince you of anything because obviously your ego's got a good hold on you. So when you're experiencing somebody who's pushing against something of you, it is like another part of your soul's journey to say, why am I triggered by this? Why does it even bother me? What's the problem here? It's not them, because love means I accept you for who you are, whether I agree or disagree with you. It's where you pull back and you say, okay, heart, where's my challenge? Well, you remember when you were 12 and somebody dismissed you and they disrespected you? You're feeling that now. Just own it and get over it. It's not them, it's you. So you're stronger in your heart than in your head, because your head wants to, I have the right words, I can cut you down, I can make you
Yes.
feel small, and I can make you feel insignificant. Okay, so where's it going to get you?
Right.
I'm going to
That
win. Will
right.
you? No, you won't.
So you're saying listen to your heart, do the work that your heart is telling you to do.
It's not work. I get paid to play.
Okay.
Does your heart say, oh my God, I want to go to work? No, your
Right.
heart says, I want to play. I want to have joy. Okay, what brings you joy? This. Okay, I get paid when I'm in joy. I get paid to play. I get paid to create. I get paid to talk, right? So when you change that, I get paid to speak from my heart. When you change the vocabulary, nothing is hard. It's not even work.
Dr. Wendy, thank you so much. Do you have anything to share with the listeners and how they can find you? I'll also include your links.
If anybody contacts me, and you can even put my phone number in there if they want, I'll accept that. And they mention that they were on your podcast, I'll give them a 20% discount off a reading with me or whatever service they would like with me. How's that sound?
That's amazing. Dr. Wendy, thank you so, so much. I've actually sent a couple of folks Dr. Wendy's way, and I've heard really great, incredible feedback from her. I've also done sessions with Dr. Wendy myself, and I can highly recommend her. And I think this podcast episode really just kind of solidified who Dr. Wendy is. And Dr. Wendy, thank you so much for empowering my listeners as well as myself. I just feel so energized and I'm ready to tackle the rest of the day. Thank you.
And you go out there and be that rebel. And if your soul's a rebel, that means your soul is revolutionary, waking people up through your voice. So don't ever let that go. Let that always be your light. Thank you guys for checking us out. I hope to hear from you.
If something in this episode landed, stayed with you, or stirred something honest inside, please let me know. You can find me at www.risewithaya.com. That's where everything lives, the podcast, my writings, and ways to connect. So I'd love for you to follow me on social media and tell me what you want more of. That can be topics, questions, or conversations you're craving. Rise Plus Rebel isn't just a podcast. It's a community built around truth, presence, and becoming your authentic self. So until then, don't rush your journey. Honor every moment of it.